that was a really special day, and I remember that being one of the days where I felt like things would be okay. Things are looking up. I have this amazing boyfriend now, and I have a swimsuit company.
I'm going to tell you something. Probably not the best thing to do to plug your swimsuit line at the end of your big response video to everything that happened. Up until this point, I was like, okay, some of these things that she's saying make sense. I don't know that she's perfectly innocent, but it definitely explains some good context. We had a whole conversation in here about how she was a victim of circumstances where there was adults allowing children in the house to get drunk and operate inappropriately, how we had all these hype houses and managers pressuring them to be in a performative relationship, which blurred the lines of these people. It was her first kiss with a guy, a lot of confusing feelings. We had a lot of nuance. And then the end of this video is, hey guys, God helped me push my new swimsuit line. Okay, listen. This situation is old, but it just came back. Sienna Mae, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to give you a rundown on what happened from my perspective, was canceled a while back. I will get into the specifics. And I'm going to tell you, this happened like years ago. My original coverage, which will be in the description of this video, was 3 years ago. June 2nd, 2021 is when this all started. And it all kind of ended around January 24th, 2022. We're talking like 3.5 years. I'm going to tell you right now, I was probably the only person that was like on her side. I was the only person that wasn't sitting here and calling her a horrible, horrific person. And I got so much slack for it. And I mean, it was annoying, but like I'm going to give you the rundown of like what actually happened. Very frustrating time. Okay. But let me recap the generalities, and then we're going to look at her response, which I don't know why she gave it so late, but let me give it to you. Here's the story. Okay, Sienna Mae, Jack Wright. Okay, Jack Wright's another popular TikToker. Okay. They were friends from like childhood, and they both became big content creators. He was part of some TikTok hype house. She was not. But she was a much larger content creator. And the hype house wanted her around. She liked Jack. Jack didn't seem to like her. But there seemed to be outside pressures from the hype house for Jack to kind of date her. And it was in the middle of whether it was for the content or if it was real. Sienna thought it was real. Jack thought it was just for the content. And we kind of have this thing where they're in a pseudo relationship together. Right? We're talking about like 17-year-old kids, by the way. 17-year-old kids that are getting pressured by an outside force of the hype house that never got any blame to date in some capacity during one of the most confusing times of your entire life. Okay? They're dating. Then a video comes out of Jack's brother who had recorded her and him when everybody in the room was drunk. A bunch of 17-year-olds were drunk in a room. It was all Jack's friends, by the way. They were all drunk in a room. And he looked like he was either passed out or so drunk he was just like limp and he was just like chilling. And she was on top of him kissing him. Not appropriate. The reality, though, is that she's not a predator. And that's what people were saying. What this was, and by the way, after this all came out, 8 months later, they showed the video. They were like, yeah, this happens all the time. Okay. So what I'm hearing is a bunch of 17-year-olds are getting drunk when they shouldn't be. Whose fault is that, parents? In a room. And they are crossing each other's boundaries. 17-year-olds that shouldn't be drinking, that should be under the supervision of their parents, are getting drunk. Whose fault is this? Is it Sienna Mae's fault? Is it Jack's fault? Is it the parents' fault for allowing them to engage in this behavior? Is it the hype house's fault for pressuring these two to be into some kind of a relationship for money? Because that's why they pressured Jack to be in this relationship. I don't know. They never got any blame, though. Of course, it was just all here. That's what the drama is. And she got canceled as if she was some kind of predator, which is ridiculous. The reality is that what was most likely happening is these are young people together in a room. The reason nobody probably stopped her from doing it is because they thought it was awkward and didn't quite understand what was going on. Jack probably didn't fully understand like how uncomfortable he was with the situation. She thought that she was dating somebody and was probably trying to imitate an adult relationship, because when people get drunk as adults, if I was drunk like that and my wife was grinding on me, I'm not getting assaulted. And that's where we're at. We're in a scenario where a bunch of very popular people were pressured by a bunch of outside forces. Well, popular kids were pressured by outside forces. Okay? That's the reality. I know that there's other things that was going on afterwards. Like he was like, oh, she broke into the house and she would... That's his side, that she broke into the house. Her side, she had a code to the house because the hype house wanted her there. There was one thing that Jack said where she jumped out of a moving car And her perspective was, we had a big fight, so I got out of the car. Which one sounds more reasonable to you? There's so many different screeching sides at each other that the reality is we have two kids that were under extraordinary pressures from adults and lack of adult supervision, creating spaces where bad things happened that shouldn't have happened. So that's really what this boils down to. That's really what all this boils down to. Everybody exaggerated. They canceled her. It's fine to criticize her. They treated her like some kind of a predator, which is almost definitely not true. And this is where we are today. So let's see what her response is. Like I said, yes, her dancing apology was not good. Let's be real. It was not a good apology. I'm not sitting here defending her dancing apology. But you're talking about, I mean, what's the criticism? Hey, a kid got canceled for being a predator when they weren't one, and they had a really bad response to it. Okay. Like, well, I'm not going to sit here and falter for having a terrible response to her getting disproportionately canceled. Okay. So anyway, let's see what we got here. And I know some people are like, oh, well, they said that this happens all the time. Yeah, so why the fuck weren't the parents watching them? I don't, like, let's just get this going. Okay, let's just talk about this. Let's get it going. Let's get it going, dude. Let's get this going.
Hi. So, this video, we're just gonna chat. And, I've been thinking...
How old was she? They were all like 17 years old when this happened.
About making this video for like 3 years, and basically what I'm gonna...
One of the reasons why this probably wasn't made until now is because she had a, and she probably doesn't anymore, she had like a manager or whatever, and they probably said, don't respond to it. That was the way that people did things back. Not a good idea. Well, her first response was terrible, but...
I do is summarize my last 3 years being canceled, the trials I went through, my relationships, my...
Yeah, it sounds like she has boundary issues. Absolutely. Like, definitely. Parents are supposed to intervene for help create boundary issues.
Basically trauma and shit that happened to me, and talk about it, and talk about...
Yeah, she's 21 now. She's 21 now. So this was like this was like 4 years ago. We're 2025. So this all started back when 2021, 4 years ago. She's a 17-year-old kid. It's insane.
My, I guess, story and my testimony. And I think for a long time I avoided this because it's really, it gets hard, especially when you live it and you feel it so heavy. You don't want to like talk about this shit. I mean, I do talk about it, but with like my boyfriend, my parents, my family, and my closest friends. Like, for the most part, I want to, you know, be a happy person, be a positive person, try to see the light in the world and the light in people. But I also believe that for my situation, especially, I haven't addressed anything on social media. And I think that in absence of...
Yeah, responding 3 years later is crazy, but I think given the circumstances where she was like tied up in like whatever managerial bullshit and whatever, it makes sense that she would finally respond or talk about it. You know, again, everybody thinks that this child is a predator. This is fucking ridiculous.
Me vocally, like, just talking about it casually. People have made up stories about me. People post stuff about me that is just like, it's just kind of, honestly, I'm not even angry at it. I'm just like, okay, like, it's just kind of like, that's what you think, like, you don't know. But I guess my point in talking about the last 3 years and how I got to basically where I am today is for somebody watching this that is depressed, is anxious, is going through something, and feels like they're alone. Because I felt like I was alone so many times the past few years, and I felt like nobody could understand me really, and nobody could really understand my situation. But as I listened to more podcasts, and as I listened to people's stories, people's like documentaries, and you kind of realize that everybody goes through hard shit. And
okay, sorry. Papa, look, the word predator is ridiculous. I agree with that. It's a very loaded word and shouldn't be used here. But she did essay him multiple times, regardless of why she did do it. Okay, I don't really care to go into the deep aspect of sexual assault. Okay, so when you say multiple times, what we're talking about is they would get drunk. I don't really know how to fucking talk to you. 17-year-olds would get drunk in probably Jack's parents' house. And they would they would act inappropriately. Whose fault is this? Like, I don't understand. Isn't there a reason why we have a legal drinking age? Now, when I was young, I would drink when I was young. I drank when I was 14 years old, like under the supervision when I was at family parties. My mom would like let me drink a little bit, right? Like whatever. But like the parents weren't watching them. You got these two jumping on top, or excuse me, she was jumping on top of them. They said it was multiple times, but like that might have been happening. So if anybody in the room thought it was sexual assault, why did nobody stop it? It's most likely because there were kids that were drunk that didn't realize what was going on. We're talking about 17-year-old children that got famous on the internet, especially extraordinarily immature. So like I don't. It might have been classified as essay. I don't really like. That's not really the focus here. The focus isn't she's innocent of any guilt. The focus here is that she's not a predator. Holy fuck! I think I got to ban you. You're like one man. You're like one guy. Do I hold no accountability for what she did? What did she do? She got drunk, and then she would get drunk in a room with the children. There were a bunch of children that were drinking, and they would get drunk, and she would make out with her boyfriend. Like, who do you think is the most responsible party? Do I want to give this? No, I'm not gonna watch his video again. I could feel bad for him and the way that he feels while acknowledging that she didn't fucking predatorize him. That's where I'm like, I gotta stop feeling fucking one guy right now. Like, I understand that you're uncomfortable. You watched him cry. Me too. I watched it too. It's here. I don't need to watch every single aspect of the old stuff. Like, that's terrible what happened to him. But the reality is that we're talking about, she's probably not a predator. That's the point that I'm making here. That's the only point that I'm making here. That's the only point I'm making here. Like, why are we have so much focus on her. Why is nobody focusing on the hype house that pressured Jack to date Sienna Mae because she was a more popular creator? Why aren't we blaming the fucking parents for providing them alcohol and a space to drink a bunch of times and act irresponsibly without supervision? Like, if I remember correctly, Jack's parents were also pressuring Jack to fucking date Sienna Mae, even though he wasn't interested. So you have a girl who wants to date a guy who doesn't really want to date a girl, but his parents in the hype house are like, you should date her. Why? For money and attention, by the way. And we're sitting here calling her the fucking predator. What about all these outside pressures that made Jack feel like he had to deal with it? Like, if anybody was pressuring Jack more, it wasn't Sienna Mae. It was the alcohol, the hype house, and his own parents. Probably because they wanted him to be successful and make money. So, like, we never talk about those things. Like, all of a sudden, our fucking brains turn off, and we're just like, oh, what is nuance? Oh, we can't have this conversation. Like, what the fuck? That's insane. That's insane. She's of the responsible parties, she's not the most responsible party for this happening. Adults tried to get two teenagers to engage in a relationship for money. That's what happened. She took it as a real relationship. Jack didn't, because Jack wasn't as interested, but he played along. That's not Jack. Like, it's not Jack's fault. It's not her fault. These are fucking children. These are children that got pressured by outside forces. That's what I'm talking about. That's what's so frustrating about this situation. It's like nobody's like looking at the adults and going like, oh, what did they do? Like, what did they do? What pressures did they put onto people?
My story may not be exactly something that you can relate to, or maybe it is, but maybe a little piece of it you can see yourself in, and it makes you feel less alone. So if you know a little bit about my story, or you don't know anything, and this is just a random YouTube video you saw, continue watching. I'm gonna basically just give you guys a story time about hard stuff I went through, about comeback successes, about real shit. Like, I'm just gonna keep it vulnerable and try and keep it as authentic, and remember, I guess, everything I went through as like clearly as possible. So in 2020, I was a sophomore in high school, and
what is that, like 11th grade? Right.
This was when COVID was kind of starting, but also nobody knew if it was like a big enough deal yet. Like, everybody still kind of thought. Yeah,
dude, I remember COVID happened in the beginning of March, and I was like, oh, my birthday is March 27th. My favorite sushi, like Asian buffet, will be open, back open by my birthday, and No, 10th. That's 10th grade. That's crazy. Fucking 10th grader. Why don't you? Hey guys, Hey guys, let's fill a 10th. Let's fill a bunch of 10th graders up with alcohol and fame, and let's just make sure they act like adults. Hey, let's fill a bunch of 10th. Hey guys, let's fill a bunch of 10th graders up with alcohol and fame, and they make sure that they act perfectly when it comes to boundaries. Oh, you guys want to get drunk in the basement? We're not going to watch you. Multiple times this is happening. Oh yeah. Oh, you guys ever think about why we have fucking ages for drinking alcohol? I never thought about it like that. Holy fuck.
We were going to go back to school. As we started to do online classes and stuff, I had a lot of free time, obviously, because I was no longer in dance since COVID was happening. We were doing online dance classes, which...
Yeah, I feel bad for, like, unironically, I was talking to my wife about this. I unironically feel bad for, like, young people who went through COVID, because some of the most formative moments of your life were just completely encapsulated by a once-in-a-lifetime event. For me, I was already working a job. It was just kind of a different version of adult life that was like a little bit strange, but fine. For young people, you guys got like time taken out of your like going to school, and a massive aspect of your social life was decimated. When you're in high school, what is your social life? Your social life is going into high school. When you're at work, I still had a social life. I worked with people. I had like a necessary job. In COVID, I was disinfecting buses for people that needed to get to dialysis to go on those buses. So I still had some guys. We've social distance. We did all that stuff. We worked outside, which made it like, you know, less spreading of crap in there. But for young people, you guys got destroyed by COVID. You guys got destroyed by COVID socially. And then even like the rising of TikTok, I think really had the unique ability to like just take over your brains and really make you guys almost like addicted to this. Not that other social medias aren't addictive, but I feel horrible for young people.
Took up like 99% of my free time.
Especially, and I'm sorry to keep going on, especially young content creators too, because a lot of people blew up in 2020 and because there was like triple the views. Everybody was home. Everybody was watching. Everybody was consuming TikTok for hours at a time. And once people went back to work, your views went away, and like you're young, you don't really understand what's happening, and like you just fall off and you're like, oh my God, I'm gone. I had that. I was almost 30 when I was dealing with that. It's easier for a 30-year-old in a healthy relationship with his wife to be able to navigate stuff like that. I don't know if I was married yet, but you get my point. Than it is for some kid. You know, you guys they're struggling so incredibly. It's fucking insane. You know, I think that's why a lot of people did fall off, because they thought, oh, I lost views. It's my fault, but not necessarily. It's just a change in the atmosphere.
Otherwise, and I also didn't have school, so I had a lot of time to just kind of do whatever, as did everybody during this era. So I did what a lot of teenagers did, and I downloaded TikTok, and it was still like kind of musically-ish at the time. Like it wasn't what it is now. As if you had TikTok back in 2020, I'm sure that you can remember. So as I started to see people like blowing up on TikTok for dancing, I was like, are you kidding me? I could do this shit in my sleep. Like, I am gonna be famous on TikTok. And that was actually my TikTok bio for a really long time, was I'm gonna be famous one day. Because
what a weird thing to want to be famous. It's funny. I remember being a kid in like the YMCA. I used to go there, and they were like, "Would you rather be rich or famous?" I'm like, "Rich. I don't want to be famous. Who the fuck wants to be famous? Like, why would you want all that social pressure on you? I want to be rich, motherfucker. I don't want to be famous. I don't care if people know me. I don't give a shit."
I just like I had this determination to blow up on TikTok because now I had so much free time. And I was like, this is perfect for me. Like I
just shit posted on TikTok like a motherfucker. I would post 20 videos a day because I was at work and I was working, but like there was less work. There were less buses going out. I had to disinfect them all, and they would all come in between like a scheduled time. So we had like, I got 8 hours of work, but I was really only working for like 3 or 4 hours. So we had because things come in later, and not every bus was going out anyway. So like, you know, it's disinfecting and doing the best you can and this, that, and the other thing. And so I'm sitting there and I got plenty of free time, especially during the day. I'm watching TikToks. I'm reacting to TikToks. I'm posting 20 TikToks a day. I had an old like a J3 phone. I had $140 smartphone back then, posting probably like 140p TikToks, and I was getting big off of just being a doofus and making jokes. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I think I can get myself a nice new phone, and I got myself an iPhone. Because I was like, it's kind of a work expense at this point. And and then I was able to, at the beginning of 2020, I was I started TikTok probably the beginning, like January maybe, or maybe a little later in the beginning of 2020. And by the end of 2020, in September, I was able to put my 2 weeks notice in, and I was able to become a full-time streamer on Twitch, and then I was able to move that into YouTube. And like now here we are today, and I'm very fortunate, and especially I came in at the right time. I got a bunch of views I never would have gotten out of COVID because I'm I'm a nobody. And Jesus Christ, years later, I managed to hold on, and all the monetization options, mostly with YouTube, but even TikTok and Instagram, they're good enough so that somebody with 60,000 YouTube followers can make a solid living. With 60,000 YouTube followers, I can make enough money to live with my wife in New York, like Long Island, New York. That's a lot. That's a good amount of money. I'm not like a millionaire by any means, but like that's what a privilege. Who deserves that? It's insane.
Know that I'm meant to like be a huge creator on here. And so I tried posting every single day for months and nothing. So I was like,
I mean, that's I guess how it would work.
Like just posting anything that I thought would blow up. And it was honestly kind of cringy, but I didn't care. I was like, I'm determined.
Yeah.
And my friends and my boyfriend at the time were like, Sienna, like, this is embarrassing. You need to stop posting on TikTok. Like, it's just like, it's cringe. And I was like, no,
so
F you guys. I know I'm going to make it.
I'm going to be
famous.
famous.
So I started
tomorrow.
a new account so that they wouldn't keep seeing my posts. I started like a private account. I posted on there once. A few posts in, my thing went viral. My video went viral.
I had no problem really going viral, but some of my jokes were too edgy and mean, so they would they'd punish me.
And it was to like WAP, Megan Thee Stallion, like that dance or something. And I remember being like, great, I knew it. It's my time. Like, let's do it. So I started going full in, posting every single day, like 5 times.
That's just gross. It's a that's a child. What a shame that Trump saved TikTok. You guys, this is what you decided to save, by the way. This is what you guys decided to save. It's actually insane. Okay.
Today, I started like becoming friends with different creators on TikTok, like
it's
following
crazy.
them, DMing them, being like, "Hey, let's collab." Like I don't even know, I was 16.
Oh my god.
So, long story short, within 2 weeks, I had like, I want to say like 5 million followers. It might have been more. I'll put whatever it is on the screen because
It was to 4 million apparently.
I definitely have a screenshot of it somewhere.
I missed the old TikTok. Papa got TikTok. It's probably good that it's gone, but damn, like that was. I had 2.4 million, man, and I threw it away. But I just had my crash out. What a loser I am. But at least I learned something from it.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I had like millions of people basically watching my stuff.
Yeah.
And I loved creating on there genuinely so much. Like I would have so
I know this is gonna sound crazy. I was like upset today when they unbanned TikTok. They banned it last night, maybe around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I went for a long drive with my wife because I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. It's the end of an era. Like I grew up on TikTok, but this is the end. Maybe that means that's like a spiritual end to my career. And then I was like, you know what? Last time I got banned on TikTok, I actually put a lot of energy into my YouTube and did very well. And I was feeling good about the break. I know that there's a lot of people that had a lot of money caught up in there, and I did too. So like I get it. But I was just like, oh, you know what? Emotionally, this feels kind of good. I feel free almost. And then I was eating ramen with my wife today, and they brought it back, and I'm like, oh, let's get back to work.
so much fun making videos and doing trends and just being creative because it was such a fun, like, it was just such a fun environment back then.
Certainly something.
It was like people were just happy.
Oh, you should have seen the commentary sphere on TikTok back in my day. It was insane. You guys think it's toxic on YouTube? Fuck you. Holy shit. It was actually insane. It was actually psychotic. We were insane. We were peaceful. I was such a scumbag. I deserved to get fucking bad. I was just such an asshole. It was just it was very anti-SJW because things were like too left leaning in 2020. And I remember I was just I was basically just making fun of kids. Not only like I had good commentary and funny jokes too, but some of these videos were just me like borderline bullying a fucking just some fucking non-binary kid exploring themselves. You got like some fucking 15, 16-year-old that's like, this is cringe. Or they'd be like, kill all men. And it's like, you're a fucking child. And I at the time, I'm like, oh, fuck you. And I would dunk on him. And people were like, yeah, this guy's awesome. And I'm just like, damn, like that was kind of crazy, dude. What went wrong with me? The fuck is the matter with me? I was fucking... Now I look at these young people sometimes, and if I do commentary, I try to be calm about it. But like it's just like, I know you're growing up. You're trying to explore yourself. Yeah.
And supportive and dancing, and it was so different from how it is now.
Whoa, bald.
And so I
Bald alert.
started talking to some of like the really big creators at the time, like the Hype and Sway House, if you remember that. And I started talking to like just all of these people that I was basically looking up to collab. And I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. I knew that like this is for me. I was only really talking to
so many bad people in the Hype House, though. It's crazy.
These people online, but I had one person that I knew that was also TikTok famous, and we'd been friends since maybe beginning of high school. His name was Jack Wright, and he went to my high school. We were kind of like involved in the same friend group.
What's so interesting about this whole Hype House thing, I'm just looking at the members. What's so interesting about this Hype House thing is that Sienna Mae got like in trouble, and she deserved a level of it. But like the reality is that we're talking about two like children, like 17-year-olds that were getting drunk, presumably at the parents' house, while the Hype House was pressuring Jack to be in a relationship with her, and that created a lot of like messed up boundaries, and there was an issue there. But she got so much more hate than Andres Lopez. And this motherfucker, it came out, I guess it wasn't, I don't know. It seemed like a pretty credible allegation that he slept with a fucking 14-year-old when he was 23. And like from what I remember looking into, it seemed like she snuck into a party or whatever, and like the Hype House didn't check her age, which is like another thing. Like the Hype House is like they're like the actual managers of the Hype House seem to be the fucking problem, because that's what it seemed to have been. Like she came there with her cousins and her sister, and they were like, "Yes, we're all 18." And they ended up doing. I mean, I don't know how you don't tell that she's fucking 14. I didn't see what she looked like, but. And then after that, everybody's like it's so what that sounded like him. It seemed to sound like him was like apologizing to the mom. He went dark for a while. All this other stuff, but she got so much more hate than him. That's fucking crazy. And then I got canceled. You want to know why? Because I made a fucking joke. If she's old enough to breathe, she's old enough to breathe. Thank you very much, Andres Lopez, for the advice. Everybody in the commentary sphere knew what I was saying, but these motherfuckers hated me, dude. So they ignored calling this dude out, and they were like, we gotta get this fucking guy. And that's why I crashed the fuck out. That's why I crashed the fuck out of TikTok, and I got banned. And I deserve the ban, okay? It's my responsibility to interact with the hate better, but I crashed the fuck out, and it tears my ass up that I got, like, I hit so hard, dude. What did I do? I get it, the joke wasn't good. What the fuck, dude? These guys, so many people, like, there's people who didn't know the situation, but there's so many people who knew the situation, and they're just like, they're like, we gotta go after this guy. We hate him. He's fat, and he makes funny jokes. None of them. I know some of them were edgy, but give me a fucking break, dude. All right, so obviously I got a little bit held up on that.
Throughout middle and high school, but I didn't really like know them. But he and his brother had kind of like blown up on TikTok maybe like a year before, maybe a few months, I don't know. But they were already like established within the Hype House and going to LA, and they knew these people. And so I started getting inquiries from like brands and press and interviews and all these people that wanted to like interview how fast I was basically getting the hype, as they would say. But I didn't know anybody. So I was like, hey, will you come to this interview with me in LA? I don't really know the area. I don't know any of these people, but like, I know you, and so maybe we can do it together. Because they'd been going to LA and staying at the Hype House and doing all that stuff. So I started hanging out with James and Jack more often. We started making videos together. And this was kind of like the peak.
The peak of what? The peak of my fucking mound of shit in the toilet? How did people get popular doing that? Whatever. I don't care. Did you see what she was moving?
Back more often.
Look at this.
We started making videos together. And this was...
What the fuck is happening here? She looks like a poorly made animatronic. She's dancing like she's on the Small World ride right now. How is this peak content? How was this ever peak content for 2021 or 2020, dude? This is crazy. Actually, this might have been like 2018.
It was kind of like the peak of virality, if you will. I, on my own, was doing like body positivity content. So looking back now,
just to be clear, if I was your dad, I would have beat the crap out of you for that. I'm just gonna be fucking real. Body positivity content. You're like a 17 or a 16-year-old girl using body positivity to try to show yourself off. And you know what? Kids are stupid, so I don't blame them. But what the fuck was your parents at? What the fuck did I just? Are you kidding me with what I just saw? I was doing body positivity. No, you weren't. You were saying body positivity to justify flaunting yourself off as a child. Because I get it. Kids want to feel good. My mother would have hit me with the back of a goddamn hard plastic's phone. I'm not saying that that's right to do. But, you know, what the fuck? What happened, dude? This is crazy to me.
It's so cringy, but I used to like dance with my stomach out, and I used to like show my cellulite and show all these like
your cellulite, okay,
flaws and things that you know people don't normally show on.
She's fucking delusional. She's pulling her pants up, pretending that she's too big to wear those pants. This is not body positivity. Okay, body positivity, it should mostly be about people who have some kind of a flaw in them, you know, where they can't change it. Now there is fat positivity too, and I understand the concept of like, hey, listen, it's okay to be fat, and you shouldn't be shamed for the virtue of your existence. But you are posting thirst traps as an under 18-year-old girl on TikTok, pretending that it was body positivity. Okay, and for whatever reason, your parents didn't beat the crap out of you with a belt. Okay, I'm a little old school. It's how we did things. I'm not going to do it to my kids. But do you think that my fucking 16-year-old daughter is going to be doing dumb shit like this? No. Okay. Get the fuck out of here.
Social media. And that resonated with a lot of girls that basically said, like, I see myself in you completely. I feel like you represent me on social media. I feel like, you know, you're my friend. And that was...
Well, I'm happy to know she's still fucking delusional.
Like, that was the highlight of doing it. I loved, like, basically interacting with people. And then at the same time, I was also doing, like, friend TikToks with Jack and James. We were doing trends together and dances.
The fuck?
And, I mean, the more that we started to make videos together, naturally people started to, like, ship us together and be like, oh, are they dating? Are they not? And it was, like, the Ross and Rachel of 2020 and 2021 TikTok. Like,
what a crazy time where everybody was like, are these kids dating? I know it was mostly other kids that were feeling this way, but like that's what was happening here.
People were so obsessed with us, with our content together, with what we're doing. Over the couple of months that we were hanging out really consistently, the content started to get a lot more affectionate. And I'm sure there's still all these videos online of like our TikToks that we posted of like me dancing on him and like, you know, just stuff that's like, they're a couple, obviously. And it was really flirty, and we definitely played into it because it always did better. Like, it always did better if we were being like, this is my friend versus like, this is my friend, you know?
Yeah, we get it. You guys were teasing a relationship for attention.
So we started to really play into the couples content. And I was like, this is so fun. Like, we're in LA, we're hanging out with all these cool people that I've like looked up to. You know, this guy who I'm hanging out with all the time is like being very affectionate and
yeah, she's a kid and he's a kid, and they're having a difficulty distinguishing content and versus like real life. It's understandable.
16 years old, like had never even been to a high school party, but like I was at Tana Mojo's house partying with like cool YouTubers and TikTokers, and I was like, this is so awesome.
Yeah. I imagine, unironically, I could imagine that like your first kiss with somebody, regardless of whether it's supposed to be some kind of social media thing or not, is definitely going to have a very strange, you're gonna have a very strange relationship with what's happening, for sure.
I'm having such a good time for the beginning of it. And then I wasn't having so much fun afterwards. I think a few months into it, I started to kind of be like, this doesn't really feel right, because, you know, this guy and I are making so many TikToks together that are super coupley. We're basically going like everywhere together, from our hometown to LA, and events and press options and interviews.
And they're getting pressured by the hype house. It's another part of it.
And like, it just kind of feels weird. Like, it feels fake, because we were together on social media and we were making videos on social media and like kissing even on other people's YouTube channels. And then in like reality, we were friends and kind of flirty, but also like not dating. And it was super hard for me, because as a girl, like, you want to be sought after. You want to feel like beautiful, and you
Well, yeah, that's why you're fucking grossly thirst trapping on TikTok for your content. Like, we get it.
want to feel like the man is choosing you. And I didn't realize till shortly after that he didn't like me like that, and he didn't have any intentions of like keeping me any closer than a TikTok video.
Yeah, and that's kind of fair, because what we're seeing is that like they want, like, the hype house wants them to play it up because it's bringing them money and attention, and so he's just doing it for the content. Yeah, I get that, but she's actually caught real feelings for him. Yeah, this is why, like, this whole fucking situation, like, we need to put more blame on the fucking the group of adults, by the way, not the people in the hype house, the group of adults running the hype house, the managers of the hype house.
And the hard part was too that he was being so flirty in videos and like online and comments. And also there were multiple occasions too where like if a guy would hit on me, he'd be like, hey, watch it. And I was so confused, because I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of starting to like him, because I'm getting all these signals that like he's into me, aka kissing me on the internet, and also like at parties, and telling people I'm his girlfriend at parties. And
right, because they're probably keeping it like up the act for the parties, sure.
And basically spending
all this, honestly, whether you want to hear this or not, all this boils down to she fell for him, he didn't, and they had some weird relationship pushed by a bunch of adults in a hype house for them to exploit these children off of, and it steamrolled into a very bad situation. So did he say he's gay? It looks like he might be gay. There's nothing wrong with that.
All this time with me in group settings and alone, and then but like he won't claim me or ask me to be his girlfriend. And I was like, okay, this is weird, and I'm being used, because ultimately, like,
yeah, that's a good point. I'm definitely way out of touch with this culture. Who thought it would be a good idea for a party house full of teens? Yep, I 100% agree with that.
He knows that using me to film videos gets him more views. And then on top of that, we were getting brand deals together that were like super high paying brand deals. Adults
pressuring them to be in a relationship. Do you see how, like, in every step of the situation, you have a group of adults after group of adults after group of adults pressuring these teenage children to be in some form of a relationship for money, and we sit here and we give her a bunch of shit, which she deserves some of it, because another group of adults, parents, consistently let all these people, these teenagers, get together and get drunk when they shouldn't have been, and then boundaries got absolutely decimated and people got negatively impacted. But like the number one person we put the blame on was somebody who was a teenager at the time. What about everybody else? What about like these other pressures from all these outside forces forcing these two to be together in some capacity? Nobody one time, and it blows my fucking, it's so annoying. Nobody one time said, how much responsibility do we put on the adults treating the children like circus animals and trying to make them kiss on camera for us? That's what the fucking crazy. Like, I don't understand it. Like, hey guys, let's put a bunch of kids on camera and make them kiss. This will never, let's put a bunch of kids on camera, give them massive fame, make them kiss, and then like be okay with them drinking alcohol together and not like supervising them. Like, what could ever go wrong? Holy fuck. Whatever could possibly go wrong? What? Oh, teenagers act perfectly responsible all the time. That's what fucking gets me. It's insane. But like most of the people who are judging this situation are like young kids. Young kids are like, that's terrible that happened. Young kids with good parents that aren't like fucking taking advantage of them are like, that's not good that this happened. And you're like, you're right. But like their parents, you're still a kid, their parents weren't there to actually deal with this the right way. Not just parents, the hype house. Everybody got so caught up in money that they allowed their children to get taken advantage of.
That we were both involved in. Like, it was a joint partnership. To summarize my emotions at the time, I was being basically kept around because I was useful, and every time we would film videos together, they would get a lot more views. He saw the value that I brought in that sense, because for him, it was useful to have me around. And for me, I started to get emotionally invested, and I was like, this isn't fun. Like, I have fun making videos sometimes, but then in our reality, in our personal day-to-day life, like, he's kind of into me, kind of not, only when it's useful for him. And also, I know that he was going through so much other stuff.
To be honest with you, like, I really am not, like, here's the thing. I'm sure that she looks at Ryan as a fucking Ryan, what the hell am I saying? I'm sure that she looks at Jack as some kind of a source of frustration. Like, he was taking advantage of me, and he was doing this for views, and he was doing this for that. And there's a level of truth to that, I'm sure. But who is pressuring him for these views? And it's like, again, we need to start putting the blame on the people who deserve the blame. And that's the adults. That's the adults that were in the room when all this shit was happening. Like, it's, you know, I'm not going to fault Jack for being pressured by a bunch of adults to have a performative relationship with some girl on the internet. Like, you know, it's fucking, it's just crazy. When
we were friends, and I knew that he had a lot.
She's still a big part of it. I think that if you took any kid and put him in the same situation, it's like just plugging in like fucking numbers in a calculator, and the same thing was going to happen. Like, we're not talking about fully formed adults that understand how to handle anything. If you were an adult and you had the amount of fame that they had, you would already struggle to deal with it. Now make them kids. Now give them a bunch of alcohol. Now pressure them to be in some kind of a relationship with each other. Now keep in mind that, like, they're younger and have a more difficult time dealing with their feelings and emotions. Like, I mean, she deserves some blame, but she was called a predator for something that was inappropriate at best. You know? Like, that's what she got called. Like, it's so we're kind of the response was so disproportionate towards her. It was fucking preposterous. Like, that's part that I think that people need to keep in mind. Her entire career was decimated because she was called a predator when she wasn't. She's not a predator. She's just not a predator. I don't know what else to tell you.
A lot of demons of his own with his family and with his own relationships, and I just knew that it was a blessing that he was never my boyfriend and that he was never into me back. That could have been really different, and I'm so grateful for it now. He also dealt with a lot of, and it's not my place, and it's also not my character to talk about him and his problems, because they don't, like, it's not my business, and I don't want to talk about it. Like, I also don't know. Like, I don't know everything that went on with his life. I'm not him. But I know that he was really hurting, and there was a lot of really deep trauma.
It's interesting. I skimmed through some of the comments, and like some of these people are like shitting on Jack, and it's like, chill the fuck out.
Also, this was just a little bit under a year.
Also, I really want to be like very clear, because I think that there's another factor in this entire thing that nobody wants to take a look at here. Okay. And this is with Jack and like his response, because I remember watching it, and this was years ago. I remember watching it and him being very upset. And this is something I really think people never keep in mind. Jack was put in a situation, again, I really want to put it all out there, in a situation where he was pressured by adults to have a performative relationship with another teenaged girl that he did not want to have, so that those adults could take advantage of him and make money. He was constantly subjected to drinking with a bunch of other teenagers without the supervision of any parents. Well, while I'm assuming a bunch of adults allowed this to happen without not letting, they weren't properly supervising their kids. He ended up having a weird relationship with Sienna Mae. He would get drunk, and she would inappropriately interact with him. And again, this is why your parents should be watching you when you're when these things are happening. This entire relationship fiasco is because of these outside parental and adult pressures. So you put him in a situation where he's upset with what's happening, and now you take that and you give it an audience. And I think that that's why he was so upset, to a point where he probably wouldn't have been if he didn't have people telling him how to feel. Because the reality is, if you guys have ever had professional training to be some kind of a therapist, one of the things that they teach you to do, and it's one of the most important things that they teach you to do, is that they teach you to meet your client where they're at. Okay? If your client comes in and they tell you, I'm feeling this way, you don't go, oh my God, that's terrible. That's over sensationalizing it. If they come in and they say something, you're like, that's not that bad. That's under sensationalizing it. You meet them where they're at, because when somebody's in an emotionally vulnerable place, especially a young person, you are so much more open to outside pressures making you feel a certain type of way. You can implant and instill trauma into people because of how emotionally vulnerable that they are. That's 100% a thing. That's why people get like secondhand trauma. This is like another thing when they watch horrific traumatic TikToks, because these feelings are so complicated. So you take Jack, somebody who was put in a situation to made to feel very uncomfortable, and then you have millions and millions of people telling him that he's like a victim, and that like everything is so much worse than it is, and it's already not great, but it's so much worse than it is, and that invades him and his mentality, and he goes, wow, this is horrible, and he starts to like actually get more upset than what would have originally have happened if a bunch of people didn't weigh in on a situation that was ultimately crafted artificially by adults trying to take advantage of teenagers for money and views and attention. That's why all of this blew up the way that it did.
That we were making these videos. So
let me get back to the other
like
video.
A little bit under a year sounds like, oh, a little bit under a year, but like it was a pain during that time. Every day I was like, is he gonna be nice to me because we get to film today, or is he gonna be nice to me because he's actually interested in me? And that was literally my everyday. I was like just getting completely mixed signals. So a little bit under a year.
I can appreciate that. Like before she was saying this, before she's saying anything that could be interpreted as negative towards Jack, she's like, he was going through a lot of his own shit too, and I understand that. I can appreciate that perspective, but it's so interesting that even years later, they still haven't realized that the adults around them in this scenario were the ultimate failures. Do you think that Sienna Mae or Jack are going to give their parents any shit for that? Probably not. They'll never blame their parents. But like, we really need more blame on this fucking hype house that pressured this relationship
into our friendship, situationship. I told him, I sat him down when we were in Hawaii, and I told him, I'm done feeling like this, because number one, this is hurting me every single day. I'm like, I'm into you now at this point, months later. I'm into you because we're acting like a couple, and you can't make up your mind if you want me or not. So you have to decide, like, are we gonna be together and stop faking this shit online? Or we can just be friends, but like, we're gonna go online and we're gonna make a YouTube video together, and we're gonna tell the internet we're just friends. And this has all been a public, like, we were just playing into it. It wasn't real. We're still friends. We love each other. And like, no hard feelings, but we're not dating. Because also at the time, I'm 16. Like, I want to talk to boys. And I had basically all these boys like DMing me and talking to me in person and being like, you're so beautiful, like, can I take you out on a date? And I was basically like, I don't know, because if I ever got caught on a date with a guy that wasn't him, then people would be like, oh, Sienna Mae's cheating, oh, Sienna Mae whatever to Jack. And so I was like, I can't even entertain another.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point too. I never really considered it like that. This was like the representation of their life together in public. And so if she did date another guy, that would either tear apart whatever illusion that they were putting on, or make it seem like she was like the next big cheater. And if you guys looked at what they did to Britney Spears after, I think Justin broke up with her or whatever, they blamed her for like the entire thing, to the point where she had a fucking manic breakdown and now is struggling mentally, we'll say.
A relationship that I want to be in a relationship. Like, I want somebody to be my other half. I've always been a relationship person too, like, and I was like, I'm tired of basically just being played. Like, here are your two options. You can either film this video with me or like tell me you like me back and we're together. And basically he told me, I'm not gonna date you because I don't like you like that, but I'm also not going to make that YouTube video with you because I don't think it's good for the brand.
The question that I unironically have right now is, at what point did this conversation take place? Like when did that take place? Did this conversation where he set a very clear boundary that he's not going to date you happen before you guys got drunk? I think it's potentially very important.
And I was like, good for the brand, like good for my mental health. Like I'm fucking struggling here. Like I need to not be doing this anymore. So then I told him, I'm going to make the YouTube video by myself. I'm not going to.
For my own mental health, I'm going to make this YouTube video clarifying that what we are, so I can move forward in my life. I want you to be a part of it because you were a part of this journey. Oh, I think I understand what was happening here. But if you don't want to, I understand. I just need to make it either way. And then he says, I'm sorry, Sienna. I just don't think it's smart for both of us. What is he referring to, the video? Okay. So the only thing I'm looking at is this. She sent this to him in May 14th. And then 2 weeks later, in June 2nd, around June, that's when this whole controversy started. And the only reason I'm saying that is like, she wanted to come forward and be like, hey, like I can't do this anymore. I can't fake a relationship. We either, and we're going to have to come forward and tell everybody that I don't want to be with you anymore. We just need to make a YouTube video together. I'd like to make one together. He doesn't want to do that. And then 2 weeks later, she gets exposed. And I'm just wondering if that would have happened if she continued to play ball. I don't know. This is interesting.
I'm going to talk crap on you. I'm not going to go on and, you know, expose all your secrets and whatever. I just want to state for my own, you know, person, for my own well-being, that I'm single, that we're just friends, and that if I want to pursue a relationship with somebody else, I'm not cheating on you.
Yeah,
because
that's fair.
Why would I want to be like I'm in a relationship with somebody that I'm not, you know?
Sure.
So we basically...
I don't know. I got to see what's happening more because this is starting to get very interesting here.
Ended that conversation and that trip, because we were in Hawaii when I told him all this, not in a good spot. I basically said all of that, and then I left. I went.
Were you living by a fucking train?
Went to the airport the next day, and
what do I mean by exposed? That's when they came out with the. So the timeline is like the first thing to come out was like basically a video of like Sienna Mae straddling Jack when they were both very well, when a room full of kids were drunk, which why the fuck did you let them do that in the first place, you know, parents? But
we didn't talk for 2 weeks. He texted me right after and was like, hey, I had so much fun with you on this trip. Like, I hope we can be friends.
Sorry, we got into a final last bit of the trip. I didn't mean what I said. I hope you feel better and have a safe flight home. See you soon.
I hope we can be good. And I was like, fuck no, we're not going to be friends and we're not going to be good. Like, you're playing me. And you literally, I basically just asked you, like,
well, I don't know if he's playing her at this point. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it's a little more complex than that.
Were true? No, because they
are.
Be straight up with what you want, because I'm done, like, now a year in almost playing this game of like, am I yours, am I not? So I didn't respond to the text, and I basically ghosted him and his brother, anything they sent me, because I was like, I was angry and I was just done. And looking back, I wasn't emotionally mature about that. I definitely should have either went and had a conversation in person with them, or texted them back or called them to let them know, like, hey, we're still friends, but I'm gonna take a break from you because, like, I'm upset. But I think that my silence was kind of eating them away, because he knew.
Right, so this was the video that we're referencing here. I wonder if we actually have the raw one. All right, so this is the original video, I think. Okay, so this was like where everything kind of comes down to.
Sexually assaulted Jack Wright.
And we have a scenario.
This video.
That's pretty much what it all boils down to. That video there.
Jack. As you can clearly see, that is Sienna and that is Jack. Past.
I don't care about his commentary, to be honest with you. I don't think it's relevant. So that's pretty much what it all boiled down to. And he said that, like, assaulted her. We have a bunch of kids in a room, teenagers that are drinking alcohol, while clearly adults aren't chaperoning them enough, where they think they're in some kind of, or she thinks they're in a relationship. He's drunk. He might be passed out yet. He may not be. This apparently happens all the time. They didn't stop her, which either it means that probably nobody in the room realized that what was happening was necessarily inappropriate. You know what I mean? And like, that's my whole entire take. I'm not saying what she did was okay. What I'm saying is, like, there's probably like, why would, if you thought your brother was getting sexually assaulted in a room full of his friends, why wouldn't you stop him? Because I don't think that they realized, like, what was happening was as bad as it was, or was like unfortunate as it was, or upsetting as it was. Because it's not like they're in a room with all Jack's and his brother's friends. Like, her friends aren't there. And instead of stopping it, he gets up and walks away like this, and then they're like, this happens all the time. Why aren't you stopping it? It's probably because they don't, like, why wouldn't you? There's no reason other than they don't realize that like what's happening is as inappropriate as it is. That's the point that I've always been trying to make. And if the friends don't understand it, then why do we expect her to understand it and him to understand it? There are a bunch of kids in a room full of fucking alcohol without being properly supervised, with the pressures of a fucking hype house, adults telling them they be together for the camera. And then this is the fallout of that. And like, who got the biggest, like the majority of the blame? Her. Not the parents, not the hype house, not the brand deals. You know what I mean? And I'm not faulting the friends for not stopping it, because like, they're young. This is why we have conversations about, like, what is sexual assault culture in America? What does it mean? This is what it means. This is what it means. This is rape culture in America. This is very sensationalized for a specific version of it because we have social media involved in it. But this is what rape culture is in America. This is how it manifests. Rape culture, we don't live in a country where people are okay with being sexually assaulted or down like that. We live in a country where boundaries are not properly defined, especially for young people. That's where we live. And this is literally the conversation about, like, sexual assault culture. Is kids with this. I'm wondering why they would have recorded that if they didn't think it was at least sort of bad. Well, they probably thought it was uncomfortable, but that's what the thing. Like, they might have thought it was like bad, but they may not have realized how bad it was. Like, that's what I'm talking about. And I imagine the adults are somewhere in this house allowing them to drink. And again, I grew up in a generation where young people drank in the supervision of their house, but it was in the supervision of their house. They're not being supervised. Everybody recorded it. Nobody showed it immediately. Nobody did anything to stop it. Nobody tried to have a conversation with her about boundaries. Nobody tried to do anything. I'm not saying that she's an innocent person. Sienna Mae is kind of a bitch. Like, like she's an attention-seeking, like, annoying person. She literally pretends to post body positivity pictures so she can post herself half naked online and pose as like a 16-year-old, which the parents didn't stop. You see, like, there's so many, like. Ask yourself, would you let your 16-year-old daughter dress provocatively on the internet and, like, bait for sexual attention? Because Sienna Mae showed that. And if your parents aren't willing to stop you from doing that, why would parents stop anything else? They're allowing her to post, like, these posts on here that we had saw before of her, like, thirst trapping as a kid, and then they allow all this, like, unsupervised alcohol drinking, and they allow all this inappropriate relationship, and they allow all these different things. Like, she showed us earlier in the video, I can't remember exactly where she's, like, fucking thirst trapping, and it's like, this is what I'm talking about. A bunch of adults that are more interested in money than they are with actually keeping their kids safe. You know, what punishment do I think she deserves? I mean, she was already punished beyond a reasonable amount. The punishment that she would get would be a social punishment of people being like, oh, that was inappropriate. We're far beyond that. Like, I don't know that there'd be any legal enforcement of what happened there necessarily. Because if somebody was going to get in trouble, it would be the parents of the house that they were drinking alcohol in. So.
I knew that I was going to be making this video, and he basically said that he wasn't going to do it with me. And I've heard from people that are friends with him and in the friend group that they were like just stressing the entire time that every day the video didn't come out, that he was thinking I was gonna basically bash him and cancel him. So in return of that stress on their part, they decided to shoot first. They decided to come after me first. And his friend posted, or our friend posted a nasty tweet basically saying like,
Jack and James have been my best friends since kindergarten. I struggle with seeing a girl get praised after telling my best friend to kill himself and assault him numerous times after he set boundaries, and then repeatedly wonder why he doesn't like you back. She also has a history of verbally abusing people in high school and LA. She prioritizes the growth of her platform rather than be a positive message she represents herself as. Followers should not be any excuse to get away with abusive behavior. You guys all deserve to know the truth out here. I'm sure parts of this are true. I'm sure that she's not a particularly good person. She's probably very full of herself at the time. But I just want to be absolutely clear when we're talking about these boundaries, this whole thing, and I absolutely believe her when she says it, started because she was setting the boundary that she didn't want to have a performative relationship anymore. And so like this idea that he, as a 17-year-old, properly affirmed boundary, like I don't think that. I think that this is probably a bit of a sensationalized view of what's going on. And if you saw him getting sexually assaulted in the room over and over again, why didn't you stop it? I don't believe that they thought that that was what it was at the time, because then they would have stopped it. But instead, you're telling us that you were in the room with somebody and you were like letting your friend get sexually assaulted. I just don't think that that's true. Because if I was in a room and I was watching my brother get sexually assaulted or a friend of mine getting sexually assaulted, I would stop it. Like I know that might sound like a harsh thing to say, but like I don't think that they thought this. I think this is where we start to get into like this weird sensationalized version of like what the reality and what the truth is on the internet. Because we do have a cancellation economy that loves seeing predators. They love seeing predators. They love it when people get assaulted. They love sensationalizing it, and they love virtue signaling about how good of people they are. And there are just so many different factors that I think are involved in this type of a scenario.
I can't believe anybody supports Sienna Mae. She, is, I think he said I was like a body shamer and that I verbally abused Jack and that I sexually assaulted him and all these like crazy claims. And I was by myself when I saw the tweet, and I literally just, my heart fucking sank. Like, there's no way to ever describe that kind of pain and anxiety of seeing something like this and being like, this is not gonna be okay. And I immediately drove home. I was at the beach by myself, just trying to get fresh air. And I went and saw my parents, and I was like, what do we do? Long story short, I had my lawyers send his lawyers a cease and desist to stop talking about me because all that shit was fake. Me and my team were trying to figure out how to sue for defamation because the shit that this tweet said was a lie. Basically called the guy who posted this tweet's dad and was like, your son is lying. You know he's lying. They were friends 2 weeks ago. Take it down. Like, what is this? And then I heard that this tweet was basically written up by Jack's brother.
Wright's kitchen table the night the tweet went out. Is that true? Like, this is just beyond bullying, and it makes me so sad, not just for Sienna, but also for all of you who are just trying to live your lives. I would really like to keep my name out of everything, but yes, it's all true, except I wasn't there when the tweet was out, so I don't know who was there. James wrote and sent out that tweet, not Mason. Please don't mention me if it ever comes down to it. No, of course not. Thank you. Okay. Wait. So what she's saying, and there might be truth to it, is that she told Jack she couldn't take the performative relationship that was being pressured by a bunch of adults around them. And that she wanted to make a YouTube video with him saying like, hey, we're not together. And he wouldn't do it. And then he and his friends write up a tweet, but in her logic, sensationalizing what actually happened and saying she's a really bad person to cancel her because they were afraid she was going to say things about him that would have made him look bad. And so her argument is that this entire thing was an orchestrated conspiracy by Jack and his friends, and that after this she went the legal route so she couldn't really talk too in depth about what was going on. Oh, shit. I mean, if that's true. Okay. Wow. I'm a little skeptical that all that is true. I'm going to be honest with you. But there might be a level of truth to that.
And then posted to their other friend's phone. And there were like 5 people there, and they were all like giggling and laughing and being like, oh my god, this is gonna like cancel her, this is gonna ruin her life. And
Well, how does she know that?
like basically just making a joke out of it and not thinking.
How does she know that? Did I miss something?
Jack's brother, and then posted to their other friend's phone. And there were like 5 people there, and they were all like giggling and
But how do you know that part?
take it down. Like, what is this? And then I heard that
She heard.
ruin her
Okay.
life. And like
So we don't know if that's true.
basically just making a joke out of it and not thinking. I don't think anybody really thought like how serious shit would get saying like heavy stuff like that.
I think that if this part is true, they would have known how serious that would have gotten.
Especially when it's untrue, because it's like you can't just say whatever you want. So then I had lawyers get involved, sent a cease and desist to them, basically told them to take down their tweet. He took down the tweet, but at that point, it's the fucking internet.
Yeah, the damage was done.
Like,
sure.
shit, people had already screenshotted it, everybody was talking about it, the T-site pages were talking about it, and I didn't know what to do. I was already pissed at them, but now they're like putting out this tweet about me, and I don't even know. Like, I'm just angry. I was sad. These were my friends a few weeks ago, like my best friends. Actually, the next week or so was a blur. I was kind of...
Just to be clear, I just because I don't want to sit here and like over validate her. We're still, for the most part, at a he said, she said type of a deal, right? Like, so I heard somebody where they were laughing. That could be true. I have no idea. She could have made it up. It could be true. The other person could be lying to her. I have no fucking idea. There is always the possibility, just to be clear, that she was doing all this inappropriate shit and they dealt with it because she was, from what I remember, the larger, more popular content creator. Again, which is why the Hype House pressured them to be together. Because she wasn't, from what I remember, she wasn't officially a part of the Hype House, but she was adjacent to it, and the Hype House wanted her around for money, right? The adults wanted her around, the circus animal around for money. That's what it was onto. And so it's possible after she decided that she was going to call off the engagement, Jack finally felt like he could express his true frustrations on the situation. That doesn't mean that she was aware of the way she was violating his boundaries. You know, when this whole kissing incident happened, or we'll say drunk groping incident happened, this was when they were in this really bizarre spot where like they were, but they weren't dating. And then you get people drunk. And then like when you get drunk, like people act foolish. And that's why 17 and 16-year-olds shouldn't be getting drunk in general, but especially not unsupervised. What's it? Uncircumcised. What the fuck's the matter with me? Unsupervised. What the fuck? Right. So there's it's such a complicated medley of things that are going on here, and we'll never know the exact specifics of what was going on. You know, but the only thing I can confidently say is that there were a myriad of adults in this situation who failed to make sure that these young people acted responsibly. They let them drink in their house, someone's house, and they let them put on a performative relationship where they both had their first kiss for the camera, for money, for adults. I think that's the only fact that I know. The only fact that I know is that there were extraordinary pressures from followers on TikTok, managers, and parents to create a scenario where these kids are acting in a performative way for money, and it gets very confusing as those things go on.
Grieving the loss of like...
I mean, the friends definitely didn't think it was an assault. Why film your friend getting touched without consent? I don't know. They might have just been uncomfortable with it and filmed it because they're like, this is weird, and then filmed it. And then later maybe different ideas started rolling in their head. My
friends, but also grieving the loss of like any career that I'd wanted at that point.
Well, it's possible that like they actually did fake this. This is the thing, Ryan. Like, I don't know. Maybe they did fake this whole thing to cancel her because they were mad at her. Maybe it was just boundaries. Maybe I don't know. I have no fucking idea. It's totally possible that they completely tried to cancel her because she no longer wanted to work with them and do this performative relationship. That's totally possible. Did it happen? I have no fucking idea. We can never like absolutely prove that. Like there's just no way that could be the truth. You know, I don't know. That might be the truth. I don't know if it's the truth. I'm not going to hardline say yes or no. Well, again, the only thing I can hardline say is that the adults in this situation are at fault.
Because I was like, well, there it all fucking goes. Like, they just made these claims about me that, you know, I'm going to obviously say they're untrue, but you can only take somebody's word. Like, I can't I can't go and convince every single person that sees this tweet. Like,
yeah, most people are going to be like, they're going to be taken over by anchor bias. One thing that people need to understand about this situation is when it comes to most situations, the first thing that you hear is going to be what you decide. That's what it comes down to. And then you have like somebody comes out, they say she did this thing, and then boom, that's your first thought. And you now have that anchored perspective. And now somebody else comes out, and now it's going to take more effort for her to undo your belief in that than for you to believe it in the first place. Right? So we have like a lot of different things that are happening here.
No, it's
I'm not saying she's fully innocent. I'm just saying that she's like, that's why coming out first with something almost always is going to help you out.
not true. Like, they're lying. It wasn't on my phone because a lot of people were
You don't deserve the platform you have. Go ahead and keep believing you're perfect on the outside when in reality you're the ugliest person inside. Welcome to legal age. Well, I think she was 17 at this time, no? I genuinely hope someone spits in your face, poisons your food, or you get in a car accident because that will do millions of people a favor. Jesus Christ. I like how she left the person's in their Instagram. They do deserve that. You can't be making threats towards people.
DMing me being like, fuck you.
Why couldn't they have a content house for people of age? Well, it's because kids love TikTok, especially back then. You know? That's the reality. Listen, see, this is the problem, is that like I still don't think that we're at a point where we've done child actors correctly. A lot of child actors end up having a lot of different problems. I mean, exposing people to tons of fame that is fleeting. It can go up and down. It can just die out instantaneously on a whim is very difficult mental health wise to deal with as an adult, but especially as a kid. That's already toxic enough. And then you add all these outside stressors and factors. Like, it's very normal for like people in their 20s and 30s to performatively on like VH1 pretend to have a relationship for attention, like rock stars and this and that. And they were trying to replicate that on a smaller scale, poorly. Right? I hope you die. Okay, I'm not gonna read these. These are threats. Jesus Christ.
I used to love you and now I'm unfollowing, like all the stuff. Kill yourself a million times.
Yeah, terrible.
And I mean, now I can say it like, and it rolls off my back, but then like I was a 16-year-old girl. Like, I didn't know how to deal with these things. I didn't know how to deal with somebody saying to literally take a gun and kill myself. Like,
Jesus Christ,
who says that? It's crazy. And now I can be like, they're so lost and they're sad, but then I was like, should I? Like, I'm apparently like everybody hates me, and like I don't know, I just feel really.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one of those factors, too, that people need to consider when it comes to any social media problem. It's something that people need to understand. It comes down to the fundamental concept of what is a like and what is a view and what is a comment and what does a follow mean. And these things, especially a follow and a like and a view, it's open to interpretation. You might like, comment, and follow me and my account and my videos because you think that like I'm really funny, or because you like my commentary, or you might just think I'm a big fat idiot lol cow. And not everybody can decipher between these different concepts. And so you tag also along onto that you don't know who's liking or following or viewing. It could be, you could be making a video about a complex relationship situation, and a 15-year-old could be like, yeah, this is right. But then like a 30-year-old has the same weight when it comes to their view, like, and comment. And they could be on there and be like, this is wrong. But maybe that 30-year-old is a professional, has a doctorate in some kind of relationship aspect. The reason I say that is because who the people that were slamming against Sienna Mae the hardest, it was children. It was probably 14, 15, 16-year-old kids on the internet. And when you're on the internet and you have a level of anonymity, you're seen as the same as actual grown adults. I'm not saying adults are always right, but they have obviously more insight. And so they're getting blasted by an audience where if you put them inside of a room, it would basically, you'd have to have adult supervision. You'd have to have like a 10-to-1 adult supervision. And we're valuing that as if like those are the same as somebody who's older with a more mature perspective. And that's another one of the problems with the internet, man. Like, everything is so anonymous. We don't fucking know. Like, you don't know. You don't know who the fuck these people are commenting. And you have to take your comments and your likes and views with a grain of salt. Because I'm obviously, if I know, like, if I look at your comment, like, view, you might be 14. You're not going to mean as much when it comes to more adult relationship conversations. Let's say I have one. Then you like some kind of a 20 or 30-year-old, generally speaking. Right? Because you have more life experience and you're like, yeah, that sounds really right. Like, I can identify with that. Instead of saying you like the way that sounds, you're like, oh, I've lived that. Like that.
Really sad. And so I was really struggling, like really, really bad. But I had our lawyers basically trying to figure it out. And I had my agent, who was also Jack's agent, because he was getting us those like partner brand deals. basically
The agent responsible with turning her into a circus show. You know, okay. Sorry, I'm just like you have your agent. It's just like, what about this guy? You think she's just told us that she has the same agent as Jack. You don't think that agent's like, guys, you should kind of pretend to be in a relationship for attention. Yeah, that's not an adult putting an extraordinary amount of pressure onto young kids.
calling Jack's parents and being like, what the hell is going on? And then calling my parents and being like, they're saying that he is not wanting to talk to her and they're not wanting to whatever. Like,
yeah, just keep in mind, he's also the same age as her, from my understanding. So, like, they're like the exact same age here. So they're both acting, you know what I mean?
Nobody was wanting to reach a settlement, and, like, I don't know, just bullshit. Nobody would do anything. So we put up some, like, bullshit statement of being like, we're working this out offline because
friends fight and relationships sometimes change. But like, allegations of criminal attack are not to be thrown around loosely. Making an untrue sexual assault claim is never okay. I'm beyond saddened by the situation. In order for us to all move forward, we'll be taking this offline with Jack. Thank you all who have reached out with love and concern. It's funny because like nowadays you kind of have to come out swinging, you know?
there were like cease and desists going around and I was a fucking mess on the couch. Like, you see people getting canceled online and you think like, oh, like we really got them, but it's like, no, they're just fucking crying in their bed somewhere.
Yeah, it's a little distressing. Even for me. I've had my moments, dude. You know what I mean?
Or like they're just feeling so lost and depressed and terrible about their life, whether it's something they were canceled for real or for not. Because for me, it was a lie. And that was honestly the worst part about it, because I was like, I can't believe like somebody can just say whatever and it's believed. Like, I mean, I know my character, and was I ever like mean to Jack or like a bitch or
I'm sure that you were, yes.
Snappy? Of course I was. I was a teenage girl. Of course I was like said mean shit. Of course I was, short with him. I definitely wasn't perfect.
I think it's interesting that she's talking so much in this video about how her relationship was never official. Doesn't that make Jack's claim even stronger that you shouldn't have groped him? I don't know. I mean, I guess. Again, I just want to be very clear. Like, it was never like 100% official. But if you listen to her talk, part of the things that she's saying is that like she felt uncomfortable to have an actual boyfriend because of all like the, because he would sometimes be playful and like flirt with her or say like, hey, hands off, that's my girl. But like, where's the boundaries between joke and real? And then like they're getting together and they're getting drunk together and things are happening and unsupervised. And like, there's a lot of different aspects of this scenario that I think are a lot simpler than like she was actively doing something that she thought was like in the wrong,
He was like my best friend and kind of like a boyfriend that I treated him.
I think it makes sense that she had a level of thought that they were in some form of a relationship. The boundaries weren't drawn clearly. I think that's the one thing that I could say fairly confidently is that there was no boundary drawn clearly.
So closely. But anybody that's ever been in a relationship will understand, like, when you're that close with somebody, you say stuff you don't mean. And
sure, obviously,
like, I apologized for saying things that hurt his feelings. So was I ever a bitch? Yes, for sure. But did I ever like verbally or sexually assault him? Absolutely not. I mean, it's really, really fucking awkward to talk about your sexual history online with however many people are going to see this. But him and I
mean, it's possible that this would still be classified as some kind of sexual assault. I mean, the term, like the literal definition is sexual contact or behavior that occurs without explicit consent of the victim, right? And so that probably did happen. But now there's a conversation about intentionality, and that's where we need to get to. Is she trying to take advantage of him sexually and like exploit him sexually? Probably not. She probably thinks that what she's doing is appropriate. That doesn't make it okay, but intentionality always, in every situation, because I've heard this from people before, and it annoys the shit out of me. Intentionality always matters in every scenario that ever happens. It always matters. It's never not going to matter. If you don't think intentionality matters, then I don't really know how to talk to you as a person. Right? So she may have sexually assaulted him, was that the intentionality? Well, I was probably not. And then probably not.
I never had sex. We never do anything that we really didn't do on social media. I mean, we were really touchy on social media and really affectionate, and everything that was...
Yeah, that was her first kiss. Like, yes, I understand.
On the internet is basically what we did in person sometimes. Not even all the time. It was like... in it, and everything that was on the internet is basically what we did in person sometimes.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Not even all the time. It was like once in a blue moon. I took a month off of social media, and that time I was basically depressed.
I mean, we have 2 kids that are experimenting with like their relationship with each other in some capacity.
Then I decided, you know, how can I come back onto the internet? Because I want to continue creating. I love making videos. I miss all these people that I'm like, you know, I felt like I was friends with, and I don't want to stop like being on social media, especially because like these people don't get to, you know, cancel me. They don't get to end me, especially because what they're saying isn't even true. Like I was like determined to come back, but I was young, okay? So let's keep that in mind. I was 17 at this point.
Sure.
And I was like, you know,
she's still young, so.
Oh, I've been
Yeah, there's a lot of comments supporting her, yes.
a dancer my whole life, and the way that I
Some of them might be a little over-affirming, but...
express and have always expressed...
Is she going to talk about why she did a dancing apology? Because you just look like an idiot.
You know, sadness. And
clearly her managers were fucking morons for letting her do that.
Happiness or joy or whatever is a dance class. Like, I've been going to dance my entire childhood, so I was like, you know what? Nobody can judge art. I remember saying that to my dad. I was like, nobody can judge art. Art is subjective, and people write songs all the time about stuff that happened to them. So I'm gonna make
your dad, what?
This really cool dance video. Long story short, the dance video was not received well, and it
no kidding, huh?
Wasn't very cool either. It was honestly kind of silly. But I thought it was cool at the time.
I could tell because you got it choreographed and everything.
I thought it was the best way to come back online, and
probably not, because that was a very victim-y kind of coming back. Like, hey, I'm dealing with stress, and if everybody thinks that you sexually assaulted somebody, they're probably not going to care about the stress that you're under, right? So that probably doesn't help optically. It probably would have helped to have a manager that wasn't a complete fucking moron, that would have been like, hey, if you're going to come back, you're going to have to just come back with what you were doing before, and we turn the comments off and we just kind of move forward. Or you come back and you make an official statement in a more mature, professional way, and you move forward. It's probably better ways to deal with it. Hindsight 2020. But again, the adults in the room that were pressuring these kids to be together couldn't help her come back meaningfully. Insane.
Looking back, I don't think it was.
Then again, they might have dropped her at this point.
But now I just look back and laugh at it, because you have to make mistakes in order to learn and to grow.
That's true.
And so a lot of people didn't like that dance video, and a lot of people thought it was really cringy.
Yeah,
but,
well, it was.
You know,
nobody thought that. It just was.
I agree. Now I agree. So came back on social media, and it was going well. I moved to Hawaii at this point with some family friends, and I was spending a lot of time in nature and just healing. And grounding. And
it's so interesting because, like, I don't know, like, she's 17. Well, she's 17 through the pandemic, so I guess she doesn't have like a whole lot of responsibilities. That makes sense. It's just like crazy healing. I don't know. There's that opportunity.
Kind of realizing what was important, because I mean, I was given all these things that people long for their entire lives at such a young age, aka fame, money, influence, a platform, and now it was stripped all away, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out who I am. And so I was in Hawaii a lot, grounding, hiking.
So I'm assuming that with this video coming out, optically, this is actually the best way to restart her career. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And I think that's probably what a level of that is, of like, hey, this is what happens here and there, and like, I'm coming back and blah, 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 blah.
Hiking, traveling, spending time in nature, spending time with people.
It's interesting though, because the landscape has changed pretty drastically, and like, I'm looking at her vloggy channel, and I'm not sure that this is like content that's going to work. I'm just not sure it's content that's necessarily going to work. I don't know.
Who were encouraging and also were centered around Christ, and the way that they lived and the way that they took me in was, I mean, ultimately changed my life, because I basically had friends when I felt like nobody wanted to be around me or nobody wanted to be my friend. And none of them cared about what was happening on social media. They cared about me as a real human and a person, and just
That's good. That's a good thing. That's one of the things I always talk about, is having like an actual like grounding in your life. If you want to be a social media creator, you always need somebody to ground you in reality. For her, she had her friends. For me, it's always been my wife. I've made plenty of mistakes myself on social media. Highs and lows in my career, I'll tell you that. And like the one thing that's able to keep me afloat, I think, is that my wife just keeping me like in a realistic position. Because like, tell you, I've had some low lows.
Just making sure my mental health is okay. I also got a few brand deals with some pretty big brands, and it seemed like for the most part things were going really well. People were starting to talk about it less and less, and people were like, oh, she's completely fine, like I think that's probably fake. And
Sure.
It was a lot less worse the more I was posting. So over a course of about 6 months, I was posting and got those brand deals and was just really happy. Then my birthday is in January, on January 16th. And
Did Jack get canceled recently? Is that true?
I turned 18. So I was really excited, celebrated with my closest friends and family. I was living in LA at the time, and so we went to like a really fun dinner, and it was
So that's like 3 years ago, no?
just like I was in a much better place than I was 7 months ago. And obviously that shit like was a stumbling block, but ultimately I felt like I was getting over it. And then Jack decided to put out a 20-minute video called What Sienna Mae Did to Me, and basically talked about how I am a crazy aggressive person, how I broke into their house, his family's house.
Right, I do remember. That's what this video is, and this was January. So we started this whole thing. I don't even know where I put it. I think I have it off to the side somewhere. But we started this whole thing in June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. So like 7 months later. Okay.
How I picked locks on doors to get to him.
Which we know, that part we know isn't true. She had the hype house passcode, so
And to sum it up, made me look like a crazy bitch. And watching the video, I went numb. Like, I remember watching it and being like, oof, whoever he's talking about, like, this is rough for her. And then being like, oh, cool, he's talking about me. That was when, I'd come from here and then started to kind of heal, and was like, probably here, watch that video, straight back down, right to the bottom. He was taking like subtle truths about things. Like he said, I'll give an example of like, he said I broke into his garage, but I didn't break in. All of our friend group had the code to his garage.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, his house was like the hangout house, and we would all just kind of come in and hang out, and like I would bring over groceries or dinner or cookies or things like that, and we would literally all hang out at their house. Like their house was literally like a frat house in the way that people were always just there, and not even like exaggerating. Literally 10 people had the code to his garage.
Okay, just to be clear. I believe this specifically, that his house was like a frat house. Because I told you, it was his friends in that video. It was his friends inside of that's probably his house, where they had a frat house. Okay, I'm saying house a lot. The point that I'm making is that Jack's parents allowed a bunch of minor teenage children, 16, 17, maybe even younger, maybe even older, go into their house with a code to the garage and drink alcohol unsupervised. Explain to me how that isn't one of the biggest issues in this entire situation, that adults let a bunch of children drink unsupervised in a house. That's fucking insane. That's insane. That never should be happening. If you're gonna let your teenage kids drink, you need to watch them, right? Because like that's where that's fine. You want your 16-year-old to drink some alcohol, that's fine. I don't give a shit. You need to be watching your kid the entire time. But to have a frat house, your adults allowing a frat house, who do you think would get arrested for her behavior? The parents of the house. They're responsible for that behavior.
It was stuff like that where he was saying like kind of truths, but exaggerating so much and putting it in such different context to where I looked like a crazy bitch. And I was like, I feel hopeless. He made normal shit, like the garage thing, or like picking a lock. Like, okay, that, who knows how to pick a fucking lock? I don't know how to
The lock-picking lawyer. Sorry.
pick a lock.
He's a good content creator.
Have never picked a lock. And the moment that he's referring to is me. He was washing his face, and I was going like this on the bathroom door because I had to go to the bathroom so bad. And I was like, dude, let me in.
That might be true. I don't know. I remember one time I was with an ex, and I had to go to the bathroom very bad, and she was showering. I'm like, I have to poop. And I knocked on the door. I'm like, I really got to go. And she's like, I'll be out soon. And I was like, a couple minutes past. I was like, I really have to poop. Like, I was on the verge of shitting my pants. Okay. And I'm like, I really have to go. And she's still running the shower. She won't just let me go in the bathroom and shit while she's showering. And I'm knocking on the door. And I'm not proud of my behavior here. I started slamming on that door, and I started breaking it apart. Like, I put a hole in the door until she opened the door because I was legitimately going to shit all over myself. Obviously, we shouldn't have been together. And now I'm in a relationship where my wife and I will shit and brush our teeth or do whatever while we're in the same room together. Just to be clear, I like that relationship much more. But I had to poop, man. You know, I'm not proud of my behavior, but I had to poop. All right.
And apparently that's picking a lock. Like, that's what I mean in, like, stuff that was normal and stuff that happens in normal relationships, but literally...
Not normal relationships, like high school drama relationships, but sure.
Taking it out of context, exaggerating it, and putting me as the bad guy to make me look like I was a terrible person. And I was like,
I mean, I wouldn't doubt that they decided to like run a little bit of a smear campaign on her because she decided she didn't want to work with him anymore. Like, this is something people need to keep in mind. From what I remember, she was a much bigger content creator back then, and without her being attached to him, Jack may not have really been able to last as a creator. So I honestly would. I'm not saying it absolutely happened, but I really wouldn't doubt it.
So fucking hopeless. Like, I don't know how to ever come back from this. I basically deleted every social media app off of my phone. Basically,
it is so interesting though, because everybody now that she's talking about this again, it's something that drives me nuts. Everybody's like agreeing with her, and like, I never believed him. And it's like, what bothers me so much is that like the majority of motherfuckers who engage with anything as like this drama stuff, you are just going to believe whoever the next person is to come out with the fucking statement. You're going to believe whoever you feel like it's safe to believe. That's literally it. It's fucking crazy.
I threw my phone away for like 3 or 4 months. I was off Instagram completely, and this was the time in which I genuinely started to heal. I honestly thought like I might never go back. I, was now 18 and was like, well, I guess I can move to Europe and nobody will know who I am, and I can, like go get a job or do something. Like, I don't know. I have no interest.
Vienna Sausage Mae. Incredible. Thank you for that.
In being on the internet anymore, because I felt the love so heavy and I felt so, valued when I was 16, and now being 18 and having, my ex best friend telling basically everybody on the internet she's a terrible person and she did all of this shit to me, and just completely lying and slandering me. And I was hopeless. The only thing that kept me through it this time was my community, who never left me, my parents, especially my brother Jacob is one of probably the only reasons I'm alive today with my parents, because I remember one.
I mean, I could believe that. Considering all the hate that she got, I wouldn't doubt that she was close to potentially, ending it all, honestly.
One day I had made a plan to take my own life.
Sure, I believe that.
And I was gonna go through with it, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm never gonna come back from this. I'm never gonna.
It's so interesting because we're in a time now on the internet that is, I would say, the most normal it's been in a long time. Things were fucking crazy for a while, and like things are calmer now. They're just like calmer. You have the ability to just actually express a perspective, as long as it's respectfully, without getting absolutely like dumpstered and shit on. Back then, man, the energy was so high that like there was like a fear and not agreeing with everybody on everything. It was fucking crazy, man. COVID was insane.
Live a normal life now. Like 20 million people saw his video, and I was like, I don't have a point. I don't have a purpose here on earth. And I remember that day, I was like watching TV in the morning, and then I was planning to do it at night. Because he was there, I couldn't go out that night and do it. And I am so grateful for my brother. Okay, let's wrap this up, because
I wish it was, but we still have a third of the video left.
I've been filming now for like...
Why am I believing everything she's saying instantly? Dude, you're just annoying. I'm sorry. What is it that I'm believing her instantly? Hey, I believe that people telling you that you should take your own life probably made you want to take your own life. You're right, dude. What's the disagreeable nature that you'd have with that statement? What would you be like? Oh no, there's no way that happened. You don't believe that that's true? You live in a box? I don't understand. I'm not taking everything that she has to say immediately. In fact, through this entire thing, I think I literally said that there are people who are just instantly in agreement with her, and I don't think that they should be over validating her perspective. What the fuck are you talking? I'm getting one guide right now. What am I doing with myself? Fuck!
An hour.
I think you're actually trolling me, too. I think that you're intentionally trolling me. Fuck.
I decided in February of 2022, a month after I got canceled, per se, to surrender my life to Jesus.
Father, the Son.
Oh my god, how cringe, dude. You guys made another soldier of Christ by canceling her. Oh my god.
I was not a religious person, and for a really long time I believed that anybody who knew Jesus or was Christian,
I know Jesus does a great job on the lawn, man,
had to be perfect. I have been so far from God, and like he would never want to know me, and I just for a long time kind of wrote the idea of Jesus or having a relationship with God off, because I figured that I wasn't good enough to meet him and to talk to him.
Well, I mean, Jesus was friends with like fucking prostitutes, so I don't know.
And then my mentor, and now basically my brother Justin, he told me about how Jesus calls the broken, and he told me about how God has plans to prosper you, not to harm you. How every situation that you go through,
The canceled the Jesus pipeline is enormous. Yeah, I mean, it kinda is.
ultimately is for a greater purpose.
Sometimes it's the Jesus to canceled pipeline. It's got some of these fucking priests, dude.
And it started to give me this hope that I hadn't had before.
That's
especially
nice.
being depressed every single day. It gave me hope and something to look forward to. And the more I learned about the Bible and about how Jesus wants all of us to just follow his life, and you'll live so much less anxious and so much more hopeful, because he gives us promises that are ultimately to help and to prosper us.
Okay.
This was the first time I started to get hope. Surrendered my life to him, which, if you don't know, is basically saying verbally, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. And
who did she steal the Jesus script from? There's a bunch of different potentials. Some people turn to Jesus because it's a nice, easy virtue signal. Oh, the Lord changed me. I'm a believer in God. That could be part of it. It's possible. I think another thing too is that like typically we live in a society that's less religious, but the people who are very religious tend to be people that are in very desperate scenarios. And so if you're in a scenario where you truly believe that you're innocent, and that like everybody's just berating you and pushing you to a point of like taking your own life, because that's what a lot of the public pressure did. In that very extreme scenario, you could be saved by a very extreme belief, right? So I wouldn't doubt that she genuinely like was looking for something to give her some kind of an existential feeling, right? Because when you believe in like religion and God, everything's in the hands of something outside of your control, and there could sometimes be a comforting aspect to that. And I think that that's probably more likely to what happened. Or maybe she's doing the religious grift. I don't think so, but it's possible.
that I said, like, don't know everything, and I want to follow the path that he has called for me. And I may not understand it now because I'm in
It's crazy how over these comments are.
such deep pain, but ultimately I believe that
I'll take for what? Oh, your name is your name is our Lord forever. What's the bad take about that?
God is on my side and God is the source of all things, and
Cool.
the Lord has love
Maybe.
for us, and he doesn't punish us. He gives us experiences for
relax.
us to learn from them and to grow from them and to ultimately
Happy that she found something to keep her going.
help others, you know, to
Oh, okay, you're not. Okay, sorry.
ultimately share our testimonies and love one another. And I mean, it was still really hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie and be like, I surrendered my life and I was immediately
That is their
okay.
name. Al Lord. What the hell's your name?
Like, no, I was
Oh, his name is Al Halford, the NBA player. Oh, fuck. I read this is our Lord forever. It says Al Halford. Horford. Oh, Al Horford forever. Wow. Our Lord forever, baby. Our Lord forever. Incredible. Wow. I cannot fucking read. Listen, it's all lowercase letters except for the first one. I thought it said Our Lord forever. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ.
I was still struggling so much, grieving all of these things that I'd lost.
Stop laughing at me.
Or at least that I thought were important and then lost. But luckily now,
Do I think Jack should respond or not? I hope not. I really don't want to keep talking about this. This is a very intense scenario that I have to use my brain for, and I have to like really apply a lot of like thought and emotion to this so I can speak carefully and clearly so people understand where I'm coming from. And it requires in every step of the way when I talk about a topic like this to have to consider set like fucking 10 different perspectives at once. I have to consider her perspective, his perspective, the parents' perspective, the hype house's perspective, the perspective of the audience, the perspective of everybody that's watching me, my own perspective, and it's like a mental drain. Like I'm like these. It sounds so silly. I have a very easy job, but these the days where I look at stuff like this, it's like a burnout. Like I'm a little burnt out interacting with this kind of stuff because it's very heavy. I have to be careful that I express the exact thing that I want very explicitly and very correctly in the moment. You know, because all I needed is for somebody to take me out of context and then dumpster me. So I have to like every time you've noticed in this, and I do repeat myself a lot in general, but like I'm qualifying everything because anything could be a moment where somebody could decide to say like, oh, boom, clip this. And maybe the context was here like 20 minutes ago, but it's not right there. So, you know, and people are joining in the live stream. So they might be even more susceptible to not really knowing what's going on at the exact moment. Just a lot.
I had more hope than ever because I was listening to testimonies of people finding Jesus and the way that their life changed. I was listening to sermons and scriptures and just listening to uplifting things because the Lord is good news. And when you surrender your life to the Lord, he has good plans for you and it's good news. Let's get to current day.
Very, very religious. There's also the possibility, and I don't know if you guys understand this, there's also a possibility that 2,000 years ago, God promised her to be able to touch Jack when he was drunk. So, you know. Who are you to deny her claim to that? God's claim to that, okay? The chosen person.
And ultimately,
that's a joke. Sorry.
How I became okay.
Okay, cool.
Big part of that was Jesus, was finding hope. And also, it really, really helped me to hear about other people's problems. Because even though that sounds really weird, when you hear about and you read about or you see other people's, you know, situations,
sure,
it makes you kind of grateful for your own, because
sometimes, yeah,
we're all going through something. And so
that's true. That's how I feel when I'm fat, but I watch my 600-pound life. It's like I have problems specifically in the my blood's route through my veins. But I look at these 600, 700, 800-pound guys and I go, I'm not so bad. And that's when I order Domino's delivery specifically, because I figure, hey, got to help the economy. Gotta help that economy, baby.
I started to become grateful that my situation
Not just with the food and the delivery driver, but, you know, that ambulance driver in hospital that's got to get paid.
was just online. I started to become grateful for the things that are in the real life and the real world, and my health and wellness and my body and my youth and my ability to recover from like just terrible days.
Sure.
For those next few months, I was off social media. I had so much time to think. I was learning new skills like cooking, reading, listening to a lot of stuff, books, podcasts, movies, TV.
That's what I got to do. I got to stop going on TikTok all the time. It's burning through my brain.
Spending time with people in the real world, hiking. I got super into strength training at this time and
All right, show us your squat. Show us your bench. I don't believe you.
using, doing workouts.
Doubtful.
I started to pray a lot
She's probably just doing hip thrusts.
about finding a partner that would ultimately be so sure about me. And so
I think she posted her partner. He's probably some fucking gay born again Jesus guy.
Loving and affectionate. And
Hold on a second.
I swear, like 10 minutes in, he was like, "Come here," trying to like cuddle on me and stuff.
Okay,
So he was
okay.
a little flirty, but it's okay because I liked that he was making a move. I think that it was like, I thought that it was cute because I felt less awkward and I felt less like uncomfortable since he was like being all, like you put it out there. So I was
Yeah,
like,
but
okay.
I didn't do it in like a creepy way. Like I made you feel comfortable.
No,
like
I know.
it was like, I don't know. The second I met you, I felt like I already knew because I literally can remember the first time I saw you. You were waiting at the elevator downstairs because in my old apartment, you can like look over and see.
He's fucking gay. I told you, he's a fucking born again Christian gay guy. Come on, guys. Did I fucking clock it or what? Instantaneously clock. Call me the fucking time wizard, boy. Jesus Christ. That's insane. Telling you. I'm telling you, motherfucker.
And affirmative, and
I guess she just has a thing for gay guys.
that while I was waiting for this partner and for him to come along and basically
I may not be good at most things, but I can absolutely clock a fucking gay guy. Like that. Boom, boom, boom. Like gay guys, trans people, fucking, I'm like the fucking, the LGBTQ whisperer over here.
meet me at the right time and be ready for me, that I started to, start to develop confidence. And also this time is just so awkward because when you're 18, your body is changing and
Sure.
you're like, I had really bad acne at the
Funny enough, 18's when your body like starts to slow down and it's changing.
time, and so everything just was like, I just felt uncomfortable in my own skin because I was like, I'm like a little bit overweight because sometimes I binge eat, but then sometimes I'll like get really small because I won't eat for like a week because I'm so fucking depressed that I'm like, I can't even eat. And then I was also getting really bad.
Sienna, please stop. Stop it with this, stop it with this body positive shit, please. Just turn it off for once in your life. You're pissing me off. All right? I want to believe you, but if you keep this up, I'm gonna just have to turn this video off, okay?
I had acne because what I was eating was like Postmates because I didn't have enough energy to go cook something. Like I just wanted something fast that I could eat right away because otherwise the feeling of wanting to eat would go away. And like I just felt fucking ugly.
Wait, but Postmates, they have to deliver that food. It takes like a half an hour. What are you talking about? What?
I felt so unlovable at this time.
Girls don't really stop changing. Nobody stops changing. I'm graying in my beard. My point is that like I feel like you start to slow down in your changes at 18. Like it's from like 13 to like fucking 17. It's like huge changes, and then things start to slow down. No.
And I was just,
Well, I guess women have a menopause. All that other crazy shit. Women are ridiculous. What a horrible thing to be. Not like women aren't bad. I just happy I'm not a woman. I was watching a video my wife showed me about I think it was called the labia majora, and apparently this person was like, yeah, it just goes away after your menopause, and I'm just like your lips just fall off. Like what the fuck?
just praying to become a happier and healthier person in myself, and that I started to see, the truth of what really mattered, because for, you know, that 16 and 17 years old, I had all these people telling me, I love you, you're so beautiful, you make me feel so worthy of myself, you make me feel so confident in myself, and I was valuing that so much. And then
The labia minora.
Oh, yes, of course. How can I forget about the menorah? We celebrate that every year at my house.
see all these people basically bashing me and telling me, like, you're disgusting, I started to value that too. A few months later in May, I met this boy, and
Gay guy.
we'll do a story time on that together,
It's a gay guy. They already did a story time.
because this is the boy I'm still with.
Oh, wait a minute. That's just something interesting. This just doesn't really matter that much, but it's very strange because she said we will do a story time. Look at this.
We'll do a story time on that together.
Okay, so just to be clear, she's like, we'll do a story time on this together. The only reason is that was released a month ago, which means that they did the story time already, which means that she was filming this. She filmed this like a month ago. I'm wondering if it's even in the same day or if it's or not. But she filmed this like over a month ago and just decided to release it now. I wonder if she was just not going to release it. And then I kind of wonder why now. Like, why Wright? And like, this is stupid and it's conspiracy brain. But she released it like the same day TikTok was like or was about to get banned. But that probably doesn't mean anything. But who knows? Maybe she. I don't know. Maybe she thought with a ban of TikTok, she felt like emotionally like, you know what? I can post this now. TikTok's fucked. Fuck TikTok.
Because this is the boy I'm still with. Long story short, to sum it all up, Cole,
Dude, you have another 7 minutes on your fucking video. Stop saying you're summing it up.
from the get-go, was... he literally wanted to date me the day we met.
Whoa.
He was just overly loving and overly short and overly affectionate.
Yeah, gay guy.
And I was like, this is the guy. This is my man. This is the man I've been praying for. Because also, the number one thing I wanted in a man was to have a relationship with God. I wanted his
That's
relationship
incredible.
with God to be more important than
Sienna Mae, from Predator to Annoying Jesus Freak. What a title, dude! Woo! Incredible, dude. She's not Jewish. She says Jesus. The Jews don't believe in Jesus. I said we. I'm fucking Roman Catholic. I'm ethnically Jewish. They don't believe Jesus was just kind of a guy who did a thing. You know what I mean?
his relationship with me. Because if you're with a man who fears God, there is nothing better.
I fear God. You know what else I fear? My mother hitting me. Listen, I'll never not be afraid of my mother. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a thing, you know?
Like, if I have a man that wants to just impress me and love on me, like, I'm going to fail him and he's going to fail me because I'm going to say something mean or he's going to say something mean or we're going to let each other down because it's just what humans do.
So relatable, girl. Same in my relationship.
We immediately became best friends, started talking a lot, and around the same time, my mom and I were developing Sienna Swim.
What? Oh, swimwear.
At this point, I was a little bit...
Listen, I don't mean to be rude. This is kind of outside of this. Do any of these fucking content creators actually like do anything valuable? And that's kind of tough for me to say because I'm like, who the fuck am I? I talk about topics every day. A lot of times, like ridiculous slop, right? Like drama slop. I get it, but what the fuck? How the fuck are you danced? You danced a little bit. And made thirst traps, and now you're starting a fucking bikini line or whatever the fuck this is. Holy god damn it. Here I fucking am. The hell am I doing with myself? The fuck's the matter with me, you know?
better.
Dude, we will never stop watching this slop. I don't know if you understand this. I understand that we go through different phases of slop. I'm consuming it in mass quantities, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm enjoying the slop heap. I like slop. I don't give a fuck. I'm making money. So fuck you, by the way. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you just want to do this for the money? No, but it helps. And money helps, baby. I like money. And it's kind of enjoyable. Now, this video in particular, this is burning me the fuck out. I hate this, but we're less serious now. We're kind of just gooning. Not like literally gooning. We're just being fucking silly, but...
Because like I said, I was doing a lot of the self-reflection and healing, but I was not back on social media yet, and I was like, I highly doubt that anybody will buy a swimsuit from me, especially after all the shit, after all the hate. It doesn't feel like anybody likes me.
Okay, it's currently May 3rd, 2022. Tonight, I'm just feeling very anxious about this bathing suit line, and it's been something obviously I wanted to
I don't want to turn it up because then I have to turn it down and it's gonna hurt my ears.
do since I was like a baby. Like, this has been my dream forever. But like,
A baby? You wanted to have a swimsuit line as a baby? That's disgusting.
what if nobody buys it? What if nobody wants to like
That's disgusting.
buy something I made?
Talk about that's crazy.
And I didn't want that to be true.
Okay, there we go.
That's how I felt. I wanted to do the swimwear since forever. Like, I've always loved swimwear, but I didn't believe in myself, and I didn't believe that I could sell anything, and I didn't believe that anybody would buy it, and I was scared,
It's like fucking white girl problems, like rich white girl problems. What the hell's going on with you?
honestly. But she believed in me, and
I'm not turning it. Why would I have turned that up? What the hell are you talking about, dude?
she's the most determined and smart woman that I know. And
True.
and I created Sienna Swim from nothing. During this time, I was off social media. A few months later,
Well, I mean, you had a massive social media following, so it's probably a bigger chance of success for you than most other people.
it came. Also, I'm saying a few months later, like it's like no big deal. A few months later, a few months is a long time. Like when you're in it day to day, a few months is a long time. So I can look back on it now because
Let me tell you something. As you get older, days pass quickly. I remember being a youngster and every day felt like a slog. Everything that happened felt so intense and meaningful and specific and new and unique and different. And now as you get older, every single day is fleeting. It passes like that, okay? It goes by so quickly. A year as a 34-year-old man feels the same speed as a month as a child. Blowing by time. And it's so sad because you want time to pass. Every time you're doing something you don't like, I can't wait to get out of work. I can't wait for my next paycheck. I can't wait for next Christmas. I can't wait for next birthday. And you're demanding of life days and weeks and months to pass by so you can only experience the good moments, the actual happy moments of your life. And then before you know it, you're just burning through your time. You're just burning through time, guys. And you're getting older and you're looking back and you're going like, wow, what the fuck happened? And then when you get older, you start to get more aware of yourself. And then you're like, wow, like I'm going to die one day. That's crazy. Your health starts to deteriorate a little bit, get a little anxious, start going to the doctor more, start freaking out. You know, every little thing frustrates you. You get a little heartburn. You think you're having a heart attack. You go to the hospital. I've gone to the hospital before for a heartburn. I don't know what the fuck it is. Heartburn's not good, by the way. It actually sucks. Oh, Jesus Christ. Scary stuff, guys. Scary stuff.
it's been years. And say like, oh, a few months, but this was going by extremely slow. This time period in my life was long, and the days were long and hard. But Sienna Swim also gave me something to look forward to, and
Well, apparently the drama with Jack was that he was being obsessed with serial killers and making violent jokes. Oh, okay, whatever.
it gave me something to work on instead of just rotting in my bed all day. We dropped Sienna Swim on June 11th of 2022, and Cole also asked me to be his girlfriend on June 11th, 2022. So that was a really
Cool.
special day, and I remember that being one of the days where I felt like things would be okay. Things are looking up. I have this amazing boyfriend now,
When was the first time you caught him kissing another dude?
and I have a swimsuit company. I remember being so nervous and not wanting
I'm going to tell you something. I'm just going to be absolutely real with you. Be real with you. Be absolutely real with you. Probably not the best thing to do to plug your swimsuit line at the end of your big apology, or excuse me, your big response video to everything that happened. Because up until this point, I was like, okay, some of these things that she's saying make sense. I don't know that she's perfectly innocent, but it definitely explains some good context. We had a whole conversation in here about how she was a victim of circumstances where like there was adults allowing children in the house to get drunk and operate inappropriately, how we had all these hype houses and managers pressuring them to be in a performative relationship, which blurred the lines of these people. It was her first kiss with a guy, a lot of confusing feelings. We had a lot of nuance. And then the end of this video is, hey guys, God helped me push my new swimsuit line. Hey guys, God spoke to me. He said, take your tits out. This optically not helpful. We probably didn't need that in this video. Now, if I get content brained here, I go, she's thinking she's going to finally respond to it all. She might as well try to capitalize on swimsuit stuff and make some money. And I get that thought, but optically, just bad choice. This is a bad choice.
to look at sales because I was like, I don't know that anybody's gonna buy it, and it's really gonna hurt my feelings if I look at Shopify and it says 0 sales. But in the first week, also I just come back on social media too.
What is Shopify? Should I use that for merch for me? Guys, I need to make merch.
So I came back like first week of June, and then we dropped Sienna Swim not even a week later. When we dropped Sienna Swim, our first collection, it sold out in less than a week. And I remember being like, oh shit. There are people who believe me, seeing that people were spending their hard-earned money on
Here's my
swimsuits that I
swimsuit
made
line.
a week after coming back on social media. I was like literally given this sense of hope that I didn't have. And honestly, I don't know if I would have found if it wasn't for Sienna Swim. That
Isn't that crazy? This isn't as serious anymore because we're just talking about some dumb bullshit swimsuit. But like, let's go. Like, let's check out Papa Gut here. Check him out here drawing. Check him out. We're not gonna check him out. We're just gonna look at this fat piece. Look at this fat fuck. Well, you can't even see him. Look at this fat piece of shit. Look at this fat guy. Sienna Mae, go. Look at this fat guy. Now look at this fat guy, dude. Look at him now, dude. So, we've made some progress, baby. We made some progress. Gomez has. Whoa!
was kind of my silver lining, our silver lining, me and my mom. During this time, it gave us something to look forward to, and it honestly gave us hope to keep going. I could just talk about my story forever, but I'm gonna just cut to modern day. So it's been 2 years. I'm still with Cole. I love him to death, and he has been my absolute rock since I met him.
So gay.
From the moment I met him, I opened up to him, which is not like me. I don't.
He's so fucking gay. He's so gay. He's so gay. Oh my God. It's okay though. There's nothing wrong with being gay. Okay, maybe she needs that.
Open up to people I don't really know, and he's just been nothing but literally an angel for me, and I absolutely adore him. As for Sienna Swim, we hit our 2-year anniversary. We've done Miami Swim Week, San Diego Swim Week, Hawaii Swim Week. We just had a 2-year anniversary party in Hawaii in June.
Stop. You're not helping yourself here.
Our sales have never been better than they are today. This summer especially was amazing, and this is obviously very summarized because it's 3 years I'm putting into this video. But I say all that to give hope, because at the end of the day, during those days, I didn't see a future for myself. I didn't see a life where I would be happy again. I remember thinking I would wake up every day depressed. And time obviously has helped, but for me, Jesus has provided the most relief of anxiety and depression.
Nice.
Because at the end of the day, it's not my battle, and he's just using me in the way that he wants me and guiding me on the path that I hope that he wants me on. But at the end of the day, people can say whatever they want about you, about me. They can think that they know you, that they know me. They can make up stories or tell your side for you. But at the end of the day, you know you. Jesus knows you. And finding a community, hobbies, like working out for me, and working on something that I loved, like Sienna Swim, and getting in a healthy relationship. I mean, I've really never been happier than I am today. I mean, I'm 20 now, and I mean, I still have really fucking hard days. I still have, anxiety and.
Does your boyfriend have any hard days? Probably when he's around other guys. That's my joke. That was the joke. Just so
a lot of stress, and I think these topics are things that I will go into either on a podcast or another YouTube video talking.
Yeah, we got 35 minutes worth of like a real story, and then we just got a fucking 10-minute swimwear plug.
About the effects of cancel culture, or how I deal with anxiety, or getting past depression. I don't know. Yeah, I think I've got a lot of advice to give now because I was given a lot of advice. At the end of the day, the Lord.
Well, the advice is gonna be put a girl on. It's probably only funny to me. The advice is really just gonna be like God, Jesus, all that other stuff. You go to a fucking priest, it's gonna be the same advice. I don't know if there's any meaningful advice to how to get through this stuff. So
plans to prosper you, not to harm you. And one day you'll look down the hill and realize that even though you were trekking up it and dying, like trying to get up the hill, you finally made it, and you are past those experiences. And yeah.
Okay. Great. What an ending. Okay.